Westwood was built in 1890. It was built on behalf of Adelia Armstrong Lutz. Adelia was known as a talented artist from her early childhood.
Adelia Lutz was a critical member of an early professional arts community in Knoxville. They not only used their knowledge of European and American art trends to elevate their own studio practice, but they also realized that art could be a critical catalyst for boosting the entire creative community.
My whole life was on this property. This house has always been a creative house, and imagination and using it was always greatly encouraged.
The extraordinary thing that people remarked on at the time is the room we're in right now, the studio.
It's very unusual to find a historic home that had an art studio as part of its original design.
This is a room for an artist. It's made to have controllable light on three sides, a skylight up above. It's a perfect place for an artist to work. Many of the women of Adelia's era lived what they considered to be happy, fulfilled lives. Adelia went a bit farther than that in achieving as an artist on her own. That was pretty unusual in her time.
She could have just settled in to being a mother and a social matron. She did not. She continued to paint until only a few years before she died. She was just a woman ahead of her time and not ashamed of it.
Adelia was a versatile artist. She's focused on pure effects of color and texture. She's laying down parallel brushstrokes in ways that create a vibrancy, and that to me speaks of a modern sensibility. She loved to focus on the main subject, the foreground details. So for instance, if you see hollyhocks, those were growing in her front yard, yet you see the flowers themselves and the background pretty much just dissolves. So there's no distraction, nothing to take you away from that central subject. There's something about those flower pictures that captures her spirit.
She would paint on any surface she could find. Here in the drawing room, she even tried it on the wainscoting.
Some people think even other artists possibly painted on the walls in this house, but even when you walk into the entrance now, you can see some of the painting that's been revealed.
She was interested in challenging herself and looking at what others are doing, but finding her own voice.
They built this house. It's obviously built for an artist to do her work. And here in this room for 40 years, she painted.
It's important to preserve places like Westwood because it's beautiful. And how many houses can you think of that have been preserved because of the woman who lived here and her artwork?
This was the height of what they called Richardsonian Romanesque. It kind of evokes the same zeitgeist of 1890, of this extravagance of the Gilded Age.
When someone enters the home, you are seeing her beauty, her architectural beauty, her one-of-a-kind fireplaces, the curved brick, the carved stone.
The home itself was in remarkably good condition. Knox Heritage wanted it to be faithfully preserved to a point in time when Adelia was living here and doing her work as an artist.
No longer was Westwood just my family's home, but I had to allow Westwood to become historic Westwood. And I hope that anybody and everybody comes to see it because she is beautiful and she's as welcoming today as she was in 1890.